every great journey begins long before the traveler ever takes their first step. Sometimes, it begins with a question. On Whale Island, a quiet place where fishermen wake before dawn and the world moves gently, like waves brushing a tired shore, a boy named Gon Freecss lived without knowing he was meant for anything extraordinary. He should have grown up like every other child there, climbing trees, chasing wild animals, learning to mend nets, and listening to old hunters brag about their catches. But Gon was different. Even as a small child, he carried an energy that didn't match the slow rhythm of his home. He moved like someone searching for something, though he didn't yet know what. He watched the ocean not as a boundary, but as a path. A promise. Something waiting. And Whale Island watched him back, silently, like an elder who already knew what fate had hidden inside that single question: why did my father choose the world over me? Yet Gon never asked it aloud. Instead, he asked something more innocent, more dangerous. What made the world so incredible that he had to go? That question, whispered inside him, was the spark that began this entire story. Gon grew up hearing only pieces about Gon Freecss, the father he never met. A man who left behind everything, even the child he brought into the world, to become one of the greatest hunters alive. Hunters weren't simple adventurers, they were the explorers of the unknown, seekers of the forbidden, guardians of mysteries buried deeper than oceans, darker than forests, older than kingdoms. To become a hunter was to stand on the edge of the world and look into places humanity feared to see. And Gon chose that life. Some cursed him for abandoning his son. Some admired him as a genius who surpassed the limits of what a human could achieve. But to Gon, who only knew Gon through faded stories and silent voids, he was both a myth and a wound. Mito, Gon's aunt, tried to protect him from the truth. She never wanted the boy to inherit Gon's recklessness, his hunger for the unknown. She wanted Gon safe, anchored to something real. Something close. But how do you tame a wind that was born to move? Even she knew it. Gon had Gon's eyes, not their shape or color, but the restless spark inside them. A spark that refused to stay on an island that felt too small for the boy he was becoming. One day, when Gon was just a child, the island offered him a challenge, a test that would shape his destiny. Deep within the forests lived the Lord of the Lake, a massive, ancient fish that no one had ever captured. Every fisherman on Whale Island had lost lines, lures, or entire boats to its monster's strength. It was less like a creature and more like a legend that ruled the waters. And Gon, barely strong enough to lift the rod he borrowed, decided he would catch it. Not to prove himself to others, but to prove something quietly burning inside his heart. If my father left to become a hunter, then maybe I can find him by becoming one too. He stood on the bank, wind brushing his face, eyes locked on the still surface. He waited for hours. Hours that stretched into a full day. Most adults would have surrendered, but Gon refused to budge. His determination wasn't stubbornness, it was purity. A belief so simple, so honest, it almost looked impossible. If something can be done, why shouldn't I be the one to do it? As night fell, the lake trembled. The rod bent like a bowstring. The water erupted. And for the first time in its long, undefeated reign, the Lord of the Lake was pulled from its home by a child who believed he could win. Mito watched from a distance, heart pounding between pride and fear. This boy wasn't meant for a quiet life. He was meant for the wind, meant for movement. It wasn't until a wounded hunter washed ashore on Whale Island that Gon's destiny truly took shape. Kite, a mysterious man with a sharp presence, saw Gon's reflection in the boy immediately. He asked just one question. Why do you want to be a hunter? Gon didn't hesitate. Didn't think. Didn't try to impress. He simply said, because my father is one. If he became a hunter, then it must be an amazing job. Kite stood silent. Gon's answer was not the one adults expected. It wasn't anger, resentment, or longing. It was curiosity, pure, childlike, and unstoppable. The kind that could either save the world, or shatter a life. Kite then told Gon the truth his aunt tried to hide. Jing didn't abandon Gon because he didn't care. He left because the world needed him more. He left because he was chasing a horizon only he could see. And Gon, instead of breaking, felt something ignite within him. Not hatred. Not grief. But wonder. If his father chose the world, then Gon wanted to know why. Years passed. Gon grew stronger. Faster. Wilder. The forests, the cliffs, the oceans, they became his training grounds. Every day, he learned more about the world through the creatures that lived on it. Every day, Jing's shadow grew a little smaller, and Gon's own dreams grew larger. And then, on a quiet morning, a hunter's license examiner boat visited Whale Island. It appeared on the horizon like fate itself. A rare sight, one that came only once a year. Gon stood on the dock, a fishing rod slung over his shoulder, wind brushing through his hair. He knew exactly what this meant. This was his moment. This was his beginning. Mito begged him not to go, not because she lacked faith in him, but because she had already lost one boy to the hunter life. She couldn't bear losing another. But Gon smiled. A smile full of promise. A smile full of destiny. And he said, I'll come back someday. But first, I have to see the world for myself. Mito saw Jing in that smile, the part of him that no amount of love, fear, or protection could ever keep on an island. She didn't stop him. She only hugged him tighter. Then let him walk toward the ship, toward the unknown. As the vessel drifted away from Whale Island, the waves grew rougher, winds sharper, skies darker. Many candidates aboard grew seasick, terrified that this was only the beginning of a far more dangerous path. But Gon? He leaned into the storm like it was an adventure calling his name. Salt stung his face. Rain soaked through his clothes. The ship pitched violently. And through it all, Gon laughed, not wildly, but freely, with the pure joy of someone who had never feared the world and never intended to start. It was here that he met two boys who would both change, and be changed by, his journey. Leorio, loud, brash, hiding pain beneath ambition. Kurapika, calm, disciplined, carrying a tragedy far heavier than his age. And later, Killua, the boy of lightning and shadows, a friend Gon hadn't yet met, but one fate was already guiding toward him. The storm tested them all. Most failed. But the ones who stood defiantly on deck, facing the wind, were the ones destined to walk beside Gon into futures none of them could imagine. Because the storm was no accident. It was the first true test. A test of heart. Of instinct. Of spirit. A test Gon passed without even knowing it was happening. As dawn rose, the storm faded. The ship's captain approached Gon with a knowing look, one seasoned hunters give only to the rare few who carry the spark of greatness. He told Gon something simple: a hunter's life is hard. Dangerous. Uncertain. But you're already on the path. Don't lose that heart. And with the sunrise burning gold over the horizon, Gon realized something profound. He wasn't chasing Jing anymore. He was chasing the world, the vast, mysterious, beautiful world his father chose. He wanted to see it, understand it, grow with it. Whatever awaited him, danger, friendship, loss, power, heartbreak, he was ready. Because every great story begins with a single step. And this was Gon Freecss taking his first. The hunter exam begins not with an announcement, but with a feeling. That feeling, a tension humming in the air like wires stretched too tight, enveloped Gon as he stepped off the ship and into the city that hosted this year's exam. Strange faces passed him from left to right, warriors, wanderers, scholars, criminals pretending to be saints, saints pretending to be monsters. Every single one of them was here for the same reason, to prove they were worthy of stepping into the world's deepest shadows. The crowded hall buzzed with unease. Everyone looked dangerous. Everyone looked desperate. Everyone looked ready to kill, except Gon, who looked excited. Because for him, the exam wasn't a battlefield. It was a doorway. Leorio, Kurapika, and Gon walked side by side through the entrance. 3 strangers, each carrying a different wound, a different hope, a different hunger. But destiny never cared about their differences. It cared only that these 3 hearts, so distant in shape and rhythm, were meant to collide. Kurapika moved with quiet precision, every breath controlled. A boy whose clan, the Kurda, had been slaughtered for their scarlet eyes. A boy who carried grief like a blade at his back. His mission wasn't becoming a hunter, but gaining the power necessary to avenge those who could no longer speak. Leorio moved with noise as loud, explosive, self-deprecating noise, as if volume itself could bury the truth he never wanted to admit. He wanted to be a doctor. Not for wealth, not for glory, but because he once failed to save someone he loved. He wanted power so money would never again stand between him and saving a life. And Gon walked between them with a brightness that almost didn't belong in that hall. He wasn't running from pain. He wasn't chasing revenge. He wasn't hiding guilt. He was simply moving forward, toward something unknown. 3 different pasts. 3 different futures. Yet the moment they stepped into the exam hall, their paths intertwined like threads braided by fate. They weren't a team yet. But they were no longer alone. A silent examiner in a green suit stood before the crowd, straight-faced and unreadable. He didn't shout, didn't welcome them, didn't smile. He simply walked. And every candidate understood, the exam had begun. The hall transformed into a tunnel, long, endless, shimmering with the cold glow of artificial lights. The air grew thicker with every step. Sweat began to drip from foreheads. Breath became heavier, rhythmic, desperate. Shoes scraped indistinctly against the floor. The walk became a jog. The jog became a run. The run became a test of endurance none of them had been warned about. Some fell. Some fainted. Some quit willingly, pride abandoned in favor of survival. But Gon ran with the same calm he used to run through forests as a child. His breathing steady. His eyes bright. His heart full. And beside him, the boy he hadn't yet spoken to mirrored his rhythm. Silver hair. Barefoot. Hands behind his head. A smile sharper than the wind. Killua Zoldyck. The boy who had been raised not as a child, but as a weapon. He took one look at Gon and said, almost casually, "You're pretty fast." And Gon replied, smiling, "You are too." It wasn't a greeting. It wasn't a test. It wasn't even a conversation. It was a beginning. As the candidates ran, Killua continued glancing at Gon, curious, almost amused. Most kids his age feared the world. Most ran from danger. Most hid their hearts behind walls built too early. But Gon radiated something Killua had never seen, something that almost felt unreal. Gon's spirit didn't bend toward darkness. It shined through it. Killua had been taught all his life that the world was cruel. Gon felt the world was exciting. Killua was trained to trust no one. Gon trusted with the innocence of someone who believed in people. Killua's past was soaked in shadows. Gon's future was filled with light. Two boys, identical in age, opposite in essence, running through the same endless tunnel. One shaped by violence, the other shaped by wonder. If destiny had a heartbeat, it pulsed between them at that moment. The second phase of the exam dragged them into a place where the line between predator and prey blurred, a massive, carnivorous forest. Strange creatures lurked between twisted vines, beasts that didn't move like animals, but like experiments gone wrong. The examiners tested more than strength here. They tested judgment, patience, humanity. Kurapika's instinct sharpened like a blade as he sensed danger. Leorio's temper exploded more than once, but his compassion, the one thing he tried to hide, kept him moving. Killua glided through the challenges effortlessly, his assassin training making the impossible look trivial. But Gon approached every challenge with curiosity, not caution. He looked at deadly creatures the same way he once looked at the Lord of the Lake, with respect and fascination, not fear. When a giant frog swallowed him whole, he escaped not with brute force, but with calm observation. When others panicked, he watched. When others hesitated, he leapt. Every decision he made was simple, not because he was naive, but because he was pure. Purity is often mistaken for ignorance. But true purity is clarity. Gon saw the world clearly in ways even adults couldn't. In the middle of all the chaos, one figure lingered like a shadow that refused to obey the light. Hisoka. A magician with crimson hair, a painted smile, and eyes that fixed on people not with curiosity, not with danger, but with hunger too complex to name. Hisoka did not participate in the exam. He hunted within it. And Gon, with his bright eyes and fearless heart, became the spark that Hisoka couldn't ignore. His interest wasn't affection, but anticipation. He saw a future in Gon, a future of strength, of growth, of the kind of power that would one day make Gon worthy prey. For now, Hisoka let him live. Not out of mercy, but out of excitement. The kind of excitement only predators feel when they sense a future rival still small enough to step on, but destined to become something far greater. By the time the group reached the infamous Trick Tower, a structure designed to test one's mind rather than one's body, they were no longer strangers. They were something closer to a fragile, unspoken alliance. Inside the tower, the exam shifted from physical danger to moral dilemma. Every floor required choices. Do we fight or negotiate? Do we trust or betray? Do we protect each other or save ourselves? Here, Kurapika's logic clashed with Leorio's emotions. Killua's cold precision clashed with Gon's open-hearted instincts. Arguments broke out. Bonds were stretched. And then, Gon, unconsciously, naturally, became the center they all gravitated toward. Not because he was the strongest. Not because he was the smartest. Because he believed in them. Because he looked at Kurapika and saw resolve, not grief. He looked at Leorio and saw kindness, not anger. He looked at Killua and saw friendship, not danger. Gon didn't choose people based on what they were. He chose them based on who they could be. That belief gave them unity. And unity gave them strength. Near the end of the exam, a deadly confrontation broke out, one that pushed Gon to his limits. When Gon snatched a badge from Hisoka, the monster everyone else feared, he didn't do it from arrogance. He did it because he had to. The test wasn't about power. It was about courage. And Gon had courage in places where others had scars. When Hisoka approached Gon afterward, smiling like a cat who had found a fascinating new mouse, the entire exam hall tensed. But Hisoka simply pressed a bloody badge into Gon's hand and whispered, "Grow stronger, so I can enjoy you later." Gon didn't shiver. Didn't break. Didn't shrink. He simply nodded, not in fear, but in understanding. Strength wasn't the goal. Strength was the path. As the final phase of the exam approached, the boys, Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio, reached a moment of quiet. Sitting around a fire, listening to night insects sing between the trees, they spoke openly for the first time. Not about the exam. Not about the dangers ahead. But about themselves. Their dreams. Their fears. Their reasons for being here. And something happened beneath that star-sprinkled sky. They stopped being companions. They became friends. Not perfect ones. Not equal ones. But real ones. Friends who would bleed for each other. Cry for each other. Grow for each other. Friends who would face horrors the world wasn't ready to reveal. Friends who would change each other's destinies forever. The fire crackled. The moon rose. Four silhouettes sat together, unaware of the storms waiting for them. But Gon smiled softly into the night. Because he had already learned something more valuable than victory, no one becomes a hunter alone. The hunter exam ended, but the real hunt had only just begun. As Gon, Killua, Kurapika, and Leorio stepped out of the exam grounds, the air felt different. Not lighter, heavier. As if the world had been waiting for them to cross that invisible line between innocence and truth. For the first time, they were hunters or close to becoming them. But none of them understood what that title truly meant. Becoming a hunter was not an achievement. It was an invitation to step into a world where monsters are not always beasts, and darkness does not always come from the shadows. It also meant facing a power none of them had yet grasped, none. After the exam, Gon was given his badge, the symbol he had earned through bravery, endurance, and something few could define but everyone could feel, spirit. But he didn't keep it. He didn't celebrate. Didn't rest. Didn't glory in victory. He had only one thought in his mind: I have to return this to Hisoka, properly. The badge Hisoka had let him take was a debt, a symbol of their unfinished fight. Gon couldn't accept his title as a hunter until he earned it honestly. It wasn't pride. It wasn't stubbornness. It was Gon's way of staying true to himself. Killua watched him with a quiet frown, the frown of someone who wasn't used to believing in anything pure, yet wanted to. Kurapika saw determination, a trait he needed for his own bloody quest. Leorio saw sincerity, the kind he had lost along the way. Gon wasn't just inspiring people. He was restoring something inside them. But then, a single moment shattered the warmth they had built. Killua didn't pass the exam. Not because he failed. Not because he was defeated. But because he killed another candidate. A man manipulated by Illumi, Killua's own brother, a phantom with hollow eyes and a smile that made the darkness seem warm. Illumi didn't scold Killua. He didn't threaten him. He simply pulled away the fragile layer of hope Killua had built around himself, and crushed it with words, "You will never have friends. You will never escape us. The only thing you're good for is killing." And Killua, who had faced death without blinking, who had endured torture since childhood, who had been raised to fear nothing, broke. Not from pain. Not from danger. But from the quiet, suffocating cruelty of family. Killua returned to the Zoldyck estate, a prison disguised as a home. And Gon felt something he rarely felt, anger. Not the explosive kind. Not hatred. But a deep, burning determination. Killua is my friend. I'm going to bring him back. And just like that, Gon led Kurapika and Leorio toward a mountain shrouded in fear, the Zoldyck family's stronghold. It wasn't just a rescue. It was a declaration: Gon doesn't leave friends behind. Even if the world tells him he should. The Zoldyck mansion was more fortress than home, gates tall enough to hide the sun, guards trained to kill without blinking, walls that whispered of generations born only to serve darkness. Gon walked in without hesitation. He didn't see killers, assassins, legends of death. He saw obstacles between him and his friend. Killua's father, Silva, watched Gon with cold curiosity. The boy wasn't powerful, wasn't trained, wasn't even aware of what he was challenging. But he had something the Zoldycks hadn't seen in centuries, a heart that refused to yield. And that made Silva pause. Perhaps Killua deserved one thing the Zoldycks could never give him: freedom. When Killua finally emerged, pale, bruised, eyes uncertain, Gon didn't scold him. Didn't blame him. Didn't question him. He simply said, "Let's go, Killua." And Killua, the child assassin trained to fear nothing, looked at Gon and believed him. For the first time, he walked away from his past. The shadows did not disappear, but for a moment, they loosened their grip. The world became wider after the exam, not physically, but spiritually. Kurapika began seeking work that would lead him closer to the Phantom Troop, the demons who massacred his clan. His calm eyes grew sharper. His gentle voice became colder. His purpose hardened into something nearly unbreakable. Leorio left to begin his medical training. His jokes remained loud, his temper remained explosive, but his steps had direction now. Every choice he made was no longer random, they pointed to the future he had promised. And Gon and Killua. They wandered forward. In search of Hisoka. In search of meaning. In search of strength. It was in Heaven's arena, a tower where battles replaced currency, and fighters climbed floors like steps toward destiny, that Gon and Killua encountered the truth about power. Nen. A force that didn't just define strength, it defined identity. Nen was breath, emotion, will, life, turned into physical reality. It was the world made visible. It was the part of a person they often hid without knowing. Nen exposed who you truly were. And when Gon and Killua learned Nen, something changed. Killua's aura moved like lightning, quiet, sudden, lethal. Gon's aura moved like wind, wild, honest, bursting forward with unrestrained heart. None didn't just make them stronger. It made them themselves. Hisoka waited for them in that tower. Not as an enemy. Not as an ally. but as a storm waiting for two sparks to grow into lightning. Gon challenged him, not to win, but to stand his ground against the man who represented everything the world could become. Dangerous. Unpredictable. Alluring. Terrifying. Limitless. The battle was not equal. The outcome was never uncertain. Hisoka bruised him, broke him, studied him. But Gon didn't back down. Each strike he took, each fall, each drop of sweat and blood, was a vow: I'll grow. I'll keep growing. I'll never stop growing. And when the fight was over, when Hisoka calmly walked away, amused and satisfied, Gon felt something within him settle. He was finally worthy of calling himself a hunter. Not because he won, but because he didn't break. Shadows thickened as the world opened. The phantom troop lurked beneath cities like ghosts with beating hearts. Greed Island whispered secrets about Jing. A new kingdom prepared for war. Ancient beasts waited underground. People with power far beyond none quietly shaped history. And Gon walked forward with a bright heart, unaware that one day, that brightness would be tested so brutally that even the shadows would tremble. But for now, he laughed with Killua, chased adventure, learned none, grew stronger, and dreamed of finding his father. The darkness was there, waiting patiently. Because the world does not reveal its horrors to children. It waits until they become strong enough to survive breaking. And Gon Freecss was growing stronger every day. The world beyond heaven's arena did not open like a door. It unfolded like a storm, unpredictable, overwhelming, and thick with the scent of fate. Gon and Killua had grown stronger. Kurapika had grown sharper. Leorio had grown steadier. But now, the world demanded more than strength. It demanded choices. And choices always extract a price. York New City. A place where opportunity sparkled like neon signs, and danger flowed silently through alleyways like poisoned water. A city too alive to rest, too ambitious to feel guilt. Kurapika walked into that chaos alone. But he wasn't Kurapika the friend anymore. He was Kurapika the last Korta. His heartbeat existed for one purpose: find the phantom troop. Punish the butchers of his people. Reclaim the scarlet eyes stolen from the dead. Every step he took in York New tightened the noose around his own heart. Kurapika found work with wealthy clients, placing himself near auctions rumored to contain stolen Korta eyes, glass jars holding the final reminders of his people's existence. When he saw one, his calm shattered. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He simply clenched his hand over his chest and swore, "I will take back every last one." To fight the troop, Kurapika forged a nun ability no child should ever have needed: chain jail, a weapon tailored specifically to punish spiders. It was his hope. His grief. His rage. His destiny. But destiny does not come without cost. The more Kurapika grew, the more he lost parts of himself. Even Gon and Killua couldn't pull him back from the path he'd chosen. When the phantom troop finally descended on York New, the world seemed to hold its breath. 12 figures, each with pasts drowned in blood, each with eyes that saw life and death as the same thing. Their symbol, a spider with numbered legs. At their center stood their leader, Krallo Lucifer. A voice soft as falling snow. A mind sharper than the blade that once ended 100 lives. A presence that felt neither evil nor good, only inevitable. To Gon, Killua, and Leorio, they were monsters. To Kurapika, they were the nightmares he refused to wake from. As chaos erupted across Yorknew, auction houses collapsing, mafias trembling, hunters mobilizing, Gon and Killua found themselves swept into Kurapika's war. For the first time, Gon saw a darkness he couldn't simply smile through. Kurapika wasn't the older brother figure anymore. He wasn't the composed voice of logic. He was a boy with a heart cracked down the middle. When he finally confronted the troop, capturing Krallo in a moment of breathtaking fury, he didn't feel victory. He felt the cold sting of reality. Revenge doesn't heal the dead. It only weighs down the living. And Gon, who always carried hope like a lantern, saw something he had never seen before. The world didn't break people. People broke themselves trying to fix the world. After Yorknew's blood-soaked symphony faded, Gon's path realigned with something purer, finding his father. And then came two words that changed everything: Greed Island. A game. A world. A trap. A legend. Created by hunters, including Jing. Built not for entertainment, but for training, secrets, and danger thicker than any forest or battlefield. For Gon and Killua, Greed Island wasn't escape. It was evolution. Greed Island felt like another world, one where Nen shaped everything: monsters, landscapes, battles, even the laws of reality. The game was alive. And Gon stepped into it like a boy entering a dream he had been waiting for his whole life. Killua followed, not for the game, not for Jing, but for Gon. Always for Gon. Inside Greed Island, Gon grew not just stronger, he grew clearer. His Nen sharpened. His will deepened. His instincts matured. Biscuit Kruger, a guide disguised as a girl disguised as a guide, molded them with strict discipline and hidden affection. And when Gon trained under her watchful eye, something remarkable happened. His potential became visible. Like gold flickering under layers of stone. Killua saw it. Biscuit saw it. Even enemies felt it. Then came Genthru, the bomber, a man whose smile was gentler than his sin, whose cruelty came wrapped in softness. He didn't fight for pride. He didn't fight for glory. He fought because hurting people made the world feel quiet. Facing him was Gon's first true step into adulthood. Gon didn't win because he was stronger. He didn't win because he was smarter. He won because he endured, beyond fear, beyond pain, beyond reason. When his hand shattered from using Jijenkin, when every breath stabbed him like broken glass, when victory seemed impossible, he said the words that defined him: "This is nothing. I've had worse." And he smiled. That smile scared even Killua. After defeating Genthru and clearing the game, Gon finally received what he had wanted since the beginning: a message from Jing. But it wasn't a warm welcome. Wasn't an apology. Wasn't a father's embrace. It was an invitation, cryptic, distant, almost playful. As if Jing were saying, "If you want answers, come find me." Gon didn't cry. Didn't tremble. Didn't hesitate. He simply said, "Okay." A child's determination. A hunter's resolve. A son's quiet hope. After Greed Island, Gon and Killua returned to a world trembling beneath the rumble of wings, wings older, hungrier, and more terrifying than any human threat. Because something ancient had awakened. A species thought extinct. A species born to kill. A species evolving faster than humanity could comprehend. The Chimera Ants. And they would change everything. For Gon. For Killua. For the world. The world had shifted. The shadows of humanity deepened, and the natural order trembled under a force neither Gon nor Killua had ever imagined. The Chimera ants were not merely creatures. They were evolution incarnate, hunger given form, a kingdom where instinct and intelligence merged into a predator that could think, reason, and destroy. Each step they took reshaped continents, towns, and hearts alike. And in that storm, innocence became a luxury no one could afford. Gon watched as entire villages disappeared, consumed not only by physical devastation but by the chilling realization that life could end in an instant. The boy who once raced through forests and leapt across cliffs now faced a reality that weighed heavier than any mountain he had climbed. Every laugh, every carefree moment, every dream of adventure, they seemed fragile, fleeting, as if the world itself whispered that nothing remained untouched. Killua, beside him, had grown silent. Shadows lingered in his eyes, sharper than any assassin's blade. He no longer moved for excitement, nor curiosity. Every action was deliberate, calculated, the product of a childhood trained for death, now tempered by friendship, loyalty, and the haunting certainty that power alone could not protect those he loved. As the Chimera Ant King, Meruem, revealed himself, the air seemed to thicken. Not with fear, but with awe. A being born from destruction, yet capable of reflection, curiosity, and even compassion, a mirror to humanity's own duality. Gon saw in Meruem not a monster, but a challenge to the very essence of life he had always held sacred. The boy who chased horizons now understood the weight of choice, the meaning of strength, and the cost of resolve. Every battle became more than survival, it became a crucible. None was no longer a tool for victory alone, it was an extension of will, emotion, and morality. Gon's heart, raw and unyielding, guided his nun like a beacon. Each clash with the Chimera ants tested not just his body, but his principles, his understanding of justice, and his capacity to forgive even when forgiveness seemed impossible. Kurapika's path, far away yet ever entwined, reminded the boys that vengeance and righteousness were thin lines, easily blurred. Leorio's presence, steady and unshakable, anchored them to the humanity that the world seemed determined to strip away. And Killua, loyal to a fault, became the shield Gon never knew he needed, a mirror reflecting courage tempered by wisdom. The battles were relentless. Friends were lost, enemies became allies, and the definition of strength shifted with every heartbeat. Gon's own limits were pushed past anything he imagined, his nun bleeding with intensity, his body screaming, his spirit tested against despair itself. And yet, even in the heart of darkness, Gon's determination never faltered. He learned the most profound truth of all: growth was not about winning every fight, nor even about finding his father. It was about understanding life in its entirety, beauty and horror intertwined, and choosing to move forward anyway. When the dust of the final battle settled, when Meruem faced the fragility of mortality and the complexity of empathy, Gon understood the cost of his journey. Strength without wisdom was hollow. Compassion without courage was meaningless. And the world, vast and unknowable, demanded both. Gon did not return the same boy who had left Whale Island. He returned forged, tempered, and infinitely more aware of the shadows that lurked in both monsters and men. And yet, despite every scar, every loss, every challenge, he remained unbroken, because the horizon he chased was never just a place. It was a promise that even in the darkest corners, life, growth, and hope could endure. The journey was far from over. The world would continue to challenge him, to bend him, to test the limits of his spirit. But Gon Freecss, the boy who had chased horizons, had learned the ultimate truth: to grow is to face the shadows, embrace the light, and move forward anyway. And with that understanding, he stepped forward once more, ready for whatever awaited beyond the horizon.